Good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Welcome to another wonderful episode of Body of Work, the number one podcast for creators and creative insights on this beautiful planet, Earth. It's your boy LP, aka Swans, aka Shades, if you know me in any of the industries. And we are going over today the third agreement because this week we are touching on, shout out to Miss Lauryn Hill. We are touching on the Four Agreements, a wonderful book by Don Miguel Ruiz. And continuing our look back in this Mercury retrograde. I got my tea. As we revisit this wonderful publication, today we will be looking at the third agreement, which is don't make assumptions. The third agreement is don't make assumptions. Now, before we dive into it, we want to again thank everyone for watching and tuning in on the Instagram lives, watching on the playback. If you're watching this on YouTube or on Patreon, or if you're listening to this on Apple, Spotify, Acast, Google, Anchor, wherever you listen to your podcast at, we thank you for tuning in. We are grateful for every single person that listens. We're grateful for this wonderful breath that we breathe. We are grateful for life. During my morning run, I ran across a fish, not just in the middle of the street. It was in the market. Oh, hello there. It was in the markets. But the fish, fresh fish, you get fresh fish from over here. We're recording this live from Ho Chi Minh, aka Saigon in Vietnam. In the markets, you get very, very, very fresh everything. You get fresh fruits, you get the freshest of duck. I mean, they damn near kill it hours before. So I was ending up my run, and there was the fish, the seafood section. I'm super bright on this, into the YouTube. Super the fish. I saw a fish that was still alive, and it was gasping for air, and it was just gasping and gasping. And yes, I understand that these people make a living off of selling it, and there's humane ways of ending lives. But I just stood there for a second. Your Vish was good. We got Bodywork alumni on the line today. I was just standing there looking at the fish and the way that it was breathing, just gasping for air. And then I had to tell the lady no that I didn't want to buy the fish because she thought that I was going to purchase the fish the way that I was looking at it so intently. Maybe next week, maybe in the next 2 weeks, or maybe when we start the cooking show, I'll cop the fish. But I was really just intrigued and thankful for life, because that fish really just reminded me that it was gasping for its last breaths of air, and we are blessed with. If you are blessed to wake up each day, then you are blessed with the gift of life. So, as I sip this hot tea, we are about to jump into the third agreement. So again, we thank you for everybody tuning in. We thank you for all the listeners, watchers, and playbackers. The third agreement: don't make assumptions. Don't make assumptions. This one was when I first came about this one, it was really, really something for me again to grasp hold to, because in a previous life, I was ready to jump, hop, skip, and jump to conclusions and assumptions. So he says here, and he starts the text off with this. The third agreement is don't make assumptions. We have the tendency to make assumptions about everything. The problem with making assumptions is that we believe they are the truth. We could swear they are real. When we make assumptions, we make up these stories in our head. We make up these narratives in our brain, and then they sort of tend to play out, right? Again, he says we could swear they are real. We make assumptions about what others are doing or thinking. We take it personally Then we blame them and react by sending emotional poison with our words. So that right there alone encompasses the second agreement, the first agreement, and now this third agreement, which is don't make assumptions. The first one, first agreement, be impeccable with your word, i.e., don't do things that go against yourself. Sending poison to yourself or someone else goes against you inherently. So we make that when we make assumptions. We take it personally when we make assumptions because we assume that what other people are thinking or doing. We make assumptions. We jump to conclusions what they are thinking or doing. Again, yesterday we Googled, shout outs to Google, we Googled and the whole entire start of the internet. That's a whole other show. But we Googled that there are 7.7 billion people on this planet. And we each all have, as Bodywork alumni Visha said, who's here on the live, said that perspective, we all have different perspectives. There are all so many different perspectives. So when we assume what others are doing and thinking, and we take it personally, and then we blame them and react by sending emotional poison with our word, none of that is good. None of that is beneficial to you. None of that is beneficial to the other person receiving it. None of that is beneficial to the environment. None of that is beneficial to the overall universe. So again, number 3, don't make assumptions, which also encompasses the second and first agreements. He continues by saying, this is why whenever we make assumptions, we're asking for problems. Why would you ask for a problem? This tea, I'm thankful for this tea. Why would you ask for problems? We don't ask for problems. We don't want problems. Inherently, nobody asks for problems. It sounds, for lack of a better term right now, it sounds stupid to be going around saying, hey, I want a problem. No, nobody asks for problems. If anything, people are asking for more money, asking for more vacation time. They're asking for easier systems to work through. No one is intentionally asking for problems, but unintentionally, subconsciously, you may be asking for problems, he says here in the text, by making assumptions. Again, he says, this is why whenever we make assumptions, we're asking for problems. We make an assumption, we misunderstand, we take it personally, and we end up creating a whole big drama for nothing. And I have that underlined here in my notes. When we make assumptions, we misunderstand. Now, you can ask for clarity, but again, that may be something that you have to work through. You have to work through the fear of not knowing what the other person is going to say or what the other entity is going to say. But again, that's better than making what he says a whole big drama for nothing. That's better than unintentionally asking or bringing problems your way when you don't have to. Which just reminded me of something that I need to do after this call. But thanks to y'all. He also continues to say, all the sadness and drama you have lived in your life was rooted in making assumptions and taking things personally. Again, we're double dutching now in between this third agreement, which is don't make assumptions, and the second agreement, which was don't take anything personally. He says here, and this is just the first page, the first couple of paragraphs in this part. Again, we only touch a little bit on the agreements. We encourage you all to do your own research. We encourage you all to read the text for yourself. We encourage you all to email us and drop in the chats and the text what y'all think about this and begin these dialogues. But again, just touching on it, he says, we create a lot of emotional poison. Oh, hold on, I skipped. It says, all of the sadness and drama you have lived in your life, no matter how old you are, no matter if you're a seasoned, beautiful age of 59, RIP to Coolio, 72, 43, 86, all of this sadness, 17, 42. Now I sound like I'm calling out football players. All the sadness and drama you lived in your life was rooted in making assumptions and taking things personally. The second agreement, learning to not take things personally will help you out. The third agreement, don't make assumptions. By not making assumptions, you can lessen the sadness and the drama in your life, i.e., making your life better. He says here, take a moment to consider the truth of this statement. The whole war of control between humans is about making assumptions and taking things personally. Our whole dream of hell is based on that. And here in the text, when he talks about hell, he talks about he means problems. He means things that are making your life harder, things that are bringing your energy down, things that you do not want in your life. And further down, he talks about, I have this here in my notes. He says, because we are afraid to ask for clarification, we make assumptions and we believe we are right about the assumptions. Then we defend our assumptions and try to make someone else wrong. That is when everything continues to go to poop. That is when things just continue to go down the drain. Because we are afraid to ask for clarification. Yes, I have been in this space as well. I too have been convicted of this, afraid of asking for clarification. So it's everyone. It's not just the pot calling the kettle black. It's not just me out here wagging my finger, even though I'm wagging it around like a Harry Potter character. Because we are afraid to ask for clarification, we make assumptions. Instead of going to the issue, instead of going to the root, instead of going to the problem instead of going to the person and saying, hey, this is how I feel. This is what I'm thinking. Is this right? Or can you clarify this? Or let's bounce back and forth about it. We don't do that. Then we go down a slippery slope of making things up in our brain, making up a narrative, making up a whole scenario. He even says it here in the text. Again, it says, we end up creating a whole big drama for nada, for nothing. Because we are afraid to ask for clarification, we make assumptions and we believe we are right about the assumption. Then we defend our assumptions and try to make someone else wrong. Then it's about making someone else wrong and us being right. Then it's about us being right. And would you rather be right, or would you rather do what's right for you in your life? Again, we're going over the third agreement, which is don't make assumptions. And this agreement bleeds into the two previous ones, which is don't take anything personally and be impeccable with your word. Says here's an example he gives. He says, you're walking in the mall and you see a person you like. That person turns to you and smiles, hey, then walks away. You can make a lot of assumptions just because of that one experience. But these assumptions, you can create a whole fantasy. You can create a whole fantasy, and that's typically what happens. No matter if the example is you walking through the mall and someone smiles at you because you were looking litty that day. An example could be someone brushes by you, or someone bumps into you at a crowded train station, or someone doesn't text you back immediately, or someone says something to you in a tone that you don't even recognize in a text message, or whatever the case, whatever example you can think of that you can apply to it. He says you can make a lot of assumptions just because of that one experience. With these assumptions, you can create a whole fantasy, and you really want to believe this fantasy and make it real. A whole dream begins to form just from your assumptions, and you believe, oh, this person likes me. Or in the example of them not texting back, oh, this person really doesn't like me. Or if someone says something that you don't understand, oh, this person is tripping. You begin that whole slippery slope of making things up, or creating this fantasy, or making a whole big drama out of nothing. Again, because we are afraid to ask for clarification, we make assumptions and we believe we are right about the assumptions. So again, the third agreement, don't make assumptions. And yes, again, in these and this week especially, and that's why I think it's important to revisit it. Shout out to the retrograde, because it's not just a scary thing, it's something that you can actually learn from, which I'm learning from. You can make your life better. You can really achieve those goals and those dreams that you talked about, that we talked about in the first agreement, about being impeccable with your word, about making the seeds that you plant, the opinions that you have, the thoughts that you have, you can make those things grow. But you can really make your life better by applying these things. That, again, that's why we are revisiting the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And today, the third agreement: don't make assumptions. I really love this part about the problem with making it. In the text, he said, this is what I have in my notes. The problem with making assumptions is that we believe they are the truth. We make assumptions about what others are doing or thinking. We take it personally, then we blame them and react by sending emotional poison. Number one, you are sending poison. You are creating poison in yourself, and then you are sending it. So that's two people. You lose you lose, what do Hope say? You lose two lives, yours and mine. You're creating poison in you because you're taking it personally, and then you spew it out to the other person. Yes, in some cases, it's easier said than done. But again, practicing and applying will help these become unconscious to you. Like we talked about yesterday, from domestication, i.e., from birth, from the start, that we were all little baby Selenas and little baby Nadias and little baby Vishas and little baby LPs. From the start, we were all programmed and we were all little babies. From the baby to baby to baby to baby. From the gate, we were all programmed with other people's ideas and so many things. So of course it's going to take time. Of course it's going to take energy, and of course it's going to take certain things for these ideas and these practices to come into play at an unconscious level. However, the more and more you do it, the easier it'll become. Thus, the easier your life should be, in theory. So again, we are just touching really quickly and revisiting the Four Agreements, a wonderful, powerful reading by Don Miguel Ruiz. Today, the third agreement: don't make assumptions. Super, super, super important. Super important. And again, you really can just take these along in your day and apply it to little things, apply it to big things, apply it to things that you don't think are important that they may be, apply it to things that you think are important that may not be. Just begin to apply these agreements and see how your life will be. See how life will be. So again, today we really just quickly touched on the third agreement, which is don't make assumptions, don't make assumptions, don't make assumptions. Out of the Four Agreements written by Don Miguel Ruiz. And today's song of the day, which I forgot to mention earlier on, was doo-wop, in parentheses, that thing, close parentheses, from the 1998 album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, by the one and only Miss Lauryn Hill. So we thank you to everyone who joined the live. We thank you to everyone who is watching the playbacks. Shout out to everyone watching on YouTube, Patreon, and wherever you listen to your podcast on Apple, Spotify, Acast, Google, and all the other Johns that are super lit. Drink water, hydrate yourself, make sure you're eating right. Do something nice for the youth STEM. If you can, if you are in a position to, send someone a beautiful text. Let them know that you are rooting for them, that you are championing them. To the energy that you want, you need to create. I learned that lesson a few weeks back. I was reminded of that. And go in peace. So we love you, sending you love, light, and everything bright from this side of the globe to yours. Your boy LP, aka Swans, aka Shades. If you know me in any industry, love you. We'll see you tomorrow to close out the week of touching back in this wonderful Mercury retrograde. Of the four agreements written by Don Miguel Ruiz, we will be closing out with the fourth agreement, which is one of my favorites. So we might go a little longer on that one. But again, sending you love, light, and everything bright from this side of the globe to yours. Peace.